cash flow statement. And so on the left-hand side here, this is the budget as per the annual plan. And you'll see that we were forecasting or budgeting to get $102 million worth of revenue at the top. Up there, we were looking at spending $112 million. So the revenue is our rates revenue, revenue from trading, fees and charges, and subsidies. And overall, that was generating that $10.5 million operating deficit that we talked about. We move back down to depreciation. So within this $112 million, there's $27.5 million worth of depreciation. And depreciation is a non-cash expense, as we all know. So when you back that out of this deficit, what it shows is that we were budgeting to generate $16.8 million worth of cash from our operations. And this cash is used to do a number of things: pay for capital expenditure and generally retire debt. So in addition to budgeting $16.8 million, we're also looking at getting capital revenue. The reason why we don't include capital revenue in our operations is because capital revenue is directly tied to our capital expenditure. We don't do the expenditure, we don't get the revenue. We don't get the revenue, we generally don't do the expenditure. We were budgeting $9.4 million, and therefore we were going to look to generate $26 million worth of cash, spend on $30.5 million worth of capital expenditure, which would have meant we were drawn down $4 million worth of debt. That's as per the annual plan. Now this is presenting the annual plan in quite a simple format. And this is what we did. The column in the middle is what you did. So as you see, our revenues were down. It was down by $2.9 million, and we indicated that during the year. There were issues with regards to the landfill again, down, and there were also a scattering of other issues around the organisation. However, the organisation responded and reduced its operating expenditure as well. And so while our revenue was $2.9 million down, we reduced our operating expenditure by $2.9 million as well. So we got to $19,000 worth of budget at this point. Now, when we follow the same exercise with regards to converting that to cash and seeing how it's applied, you'll see that our depreciation was down on budget. And so at this point, we were $900,000 out. So rather than having $16.8 million of cash available to contribute to capital expenditure, we only had $15.9 million. You also see the next line down is that we just didn't get the capital subsidies that we thought we were going to. And there was a couple in the roading area, but in the main, that is driven by T-Rex. So T-Rex had a significant element of capital subsidy attached, and because T-Rex has been progressing, but the build hasn't started, we haven't attracted the subsidies, and you'll see down here that we also haven't attracted the expenditure. So because of this $900,000 there, and because our capital revenue is down, we only had $19 million worth of cash generated from our operations instead of the budget of 26. So we were $7 million worse in budget at that point. Now, if we were to go ahead and continue on with our capital expenditure as budget, that would have caused us quite a significant problem. And in a way, if we had spent as per budget, rather than borrowing $4 million, we would have borrowed the 7 and the 4, so 11.5. However, instead, we reduced our capital expenditure. And so the net effect is, rather than borrowing, we instead had a cash surplus. And that $1.7 million went to 1.2, reducing our debt, and $500,000 of that is held in our cash holding. Now, this is like for like, as we've talked to you in the previous months in O&M with regards to the way that we budget and the way that we report. And it doesn't include non-cash write-downs. Now, are you happy for me to stay here, Your Worship?